What's up everyone, Vu of NVU Films, and I am back with some more YouTube trash content for you. Today, it's a good day. Today I got a new camera, which is the Sony ZV-E1 right here in my hands. I'm holding it with the Samyang 18mm f2.8 prime lens. And if you don't believe that I got the Sony ZV-E1, you go ahead and see this B-roll where I show you the ZV-E1 with the FX30 while at the same time flicking you off for not trusting me. Unless you still don't trust me and think that I somehow got footage of my hand with FX30 and the Sony ZV-E1 from Storyblocks or some shit like that, then first of all, I am a trusty YouTuber who is not sponsored by Sony. I'm not affiliated with Sony. I don't get things from Sony for review. I don't get invited to camera camp and things of that nature. You could trust me for high quality, unbiased camera gear reviews. But not gonna lie, if Sony decided they want to send me stuff, I do not mind taking their stuff and making biased reviews, because that's only more YouTube revenue in my pocket. With that said, subscribe for more unbiased YouTube reviews. So currently I am walking like a 100% YouTube douchebag on standard stabilization with the Sony ZV-E1, and I'm going to quickly switch over to active debag stabe, and this is me walking with active debag stabe. And of course I'm just holding the camera with my hand. There's no debag tripod stick. And then of course there's that new version of stabilization called D-Stabe. And apparently I can't turn that on until I unrecord first. So now that D act is on, which is supposed to mean dynamic active stabilization. D can mean anything. So yeah, we got that D on right now. That D act action now. So that's how stable that is. I'm gonna go ahead and switch back out to standard mode. There we go. So now we're back into standard mode, and I am still walking around in my backyard like a 100% tube douche piece of trash. So what am I doing out here today? Well, obviously I'm talking about the Sony ZV-E1 I just got because it's going to help my YouTube algorithm greatly. Subscribe to the channel. I'm going to just straight up tell you this right now. I don't really care about all those AI features, all this BS crap that crammed into this camera. I only care for the fact that it has an FX3 Sony a7S III sensor, and it is tiny, and that is primarily what I use it for, because I do professional work, and when I do those things I'm going to want to use my FX3 FX30 instead of this, because one, it has fans, it has all the professional features I'm looking for, all the buttons, all of those quick access items, dual card slots, etc. that I need as a professional. Whereas this is something I carry around, film my family, my kids, do these vlogs, go out, vlogging for my fishing channel, where I don't have to carry a bulkier body, heavier, bigger, etc. And you don't believe me that this is a lot lighter than like an FX30, a lot smaller. It is. As much as it might seem like it's the same size, it is not. This camera's overall size and weight is, in my opinion, significantly lighter and smaller than the other full frame Sony cameras, including the APS-C FX30, which I have been using for vlogging up to this point. Now, we all know the stabilization is decent enough for vlogging. We also know that autofocus is amazing. The only thing that's a real concern for me, and probably for all other people with getting this camera, is probably overheating. And right now, it's been on for the past 10 minutes or so, no overheating. I was messing around with the menus before I started using it right now, and I was on that menus for a solid 15 minutes and it didn't overheat either. I saw some other YouTubers say that their ZV-E1 started overheating while they're going through the menus. I have no idea what their living environment is. Apparently they live in saunas, or they've been rubbing their hands on something and their hands got really hot. I have no idea, but no signs of overheating while I was on the menu shooting 4K 24p right now. So, but anyways, I got to refill that bird feeder. I'm gonna set this on a tripod. We'll leave it on while I'm doing this bird feeder, and we'll see if it overheats or not. really quickly before we get to all of that, I've been filming this whole video with just the mic that is built in with the Sony ZV-E1, which is, I guess, sounds pretty decent. A little bit kind of, it lacks some volume in my opinion, but if you were to get a mic if I were to recommend you get a mic for this camera, it'll be this little Sony mic right here with this Chinese man's old pubic hairs or some straight 1980s actions bush. But yeah, this little mic right here, this is the Sony ECM-G1, and pretty much you just put this on the hot shoe and the camera does the rest. And in my opinion, it sounds really good. Everything will be set on auto. You can't even like mess with the audio settings manually at all. It's just full auto. And you could also plug this into other cameras with a mic out, but this is definitely made for your Sony camera, and I highly recommend it. And I'm going to put this mic on right now, and you could hear the difference. First, I'm gonna just take off this 1980s bush real quick. And then I'm gonna plug on this new 1980s bush. So now I have the Sony ECM-G1 on, and immediately this audio sounds a lot more. Immediately the audio should sound a lot better. There should be a lot more volume in my voice, I hope. Unless somebody slipped some estrogen hormones in my drink or something, my voice should be sounding nice and deep and thick. But anyways, I'm gonna get to the job that I have to do, because literally I was about to walk outside and my wife was like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm probably just film a YouTube video real quick on the Sony ZV-E1 to get some YouTube ad revenue to be able to buy you food." And she was like, "Speaking of food, you need to refill the bird feeder outside." So I was like, okay, so that's what I'm doing. Alright, so I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to hear me right now, but hopefully this mic does the job to pick up my voice from this far away. I'm pretty far. So anyways, I'm going to start filling in the bird feeder. And if y'all are wondering, what the heck am I doing having a bird feeder in my backyard? Well, it's quite simple, okay? It's a bad economy right now. A lot of my wedding inquiries have dried up quite a bit much. And as you can see, as bad as this YouTube video is, I don't have that many subscribers. So my YouTube revenue is not great. So obviously we're struggling quite a bit. So what I'm doing is I feed the birds. So I'll be inside the window, and when the birds come, I shoot them with a BB gun, and then I just take them over to the local Chinese food restaurant for them to have something to use to sell Kung Pao chicken. And yeah, that's how I've been surviving. That's how I was able to get some money for the Sony ZV-E1. So yeah, that is what's up. Hopefully this camera does not overheat while I'm doing this. It is currently May 5th, and I'm still having to wear a sweater, so it is not really that hot out here. So that's something else to consider with this scientific tube doucher test of an overheating test, experiment, whatever it is that you want to call it. People are funny though, especially like long-time Sony video shooters, kind of like complaining and not sure about this overheating, as if they've never dealt with overheating before in their life. I started off filming with Sony a6300, actually a6000. Actually, I started off filming with the Sony Nex6 to 6000 to a6300 to a6500, and those cameras overheated in 4K 24 8-bit. And this camera, with everything that it has going for it, 10-bit 422, high bit rate, autofocus, AI, whatever the heck it has in here, and it overheats with this small ass body with no fans, no additional passive, some other cooling technology that the Sony a7S III has. I think so far so good. It's been doing okay. Now, let's say you were in a situation that is warm, especially today. It is not really that warm. I'm wearing a sweater. If you're in a situation in the summer and it does overheat, and I won't be surprised if it does, if you're shooting 4K 60 or something like that for long periods of time, or maybe even 4K 24, there are ways to mitigate overheating. And one of them I'm going to do right now, really quickly, and I'll come back. So I just went ahead and changed some settings, and hopefully it won't overheat at all. The camera has not overheated on me yet, but maybe this would make it run cooler. I don't know. So obviously, for any Sony camera that you get, you want to turn on the high temperature threshold. I've been doing this for all of my Sony cameras and have never had an issue. None of my cameras died because it got too hot or something like that. And I've been shooting a bunch of stuff. I shoot like 20 to 30 weddings a year, multiple different YouTube videos, as well as a bunch of other corporate commercial gigs. So yeah, my cameras never died. I've always been able to resell them, used, to get my other new Sony cameras, whatever, no problem. So some of the most obvious things, and most veteran Sony shooters will tell you, if you don't want your camera to overheat, if you're worried it's going to overheat, is you obviously, one, you want to open the screen out, and then two, you want to unclick, you want to open the battery door, which I just did right now, but I'm gonna close it because the camera's not overheating or anything. But yeah, those are the main two things you can do to the Sony cameras on the hardware to help it not overheat. The other thing is to get a cage. Right now there are no cages available for Sony ZV-E1, but when you get a cage for your camera, the cage helps absorb some of the heat out of the body and should help your camera stay a little bit cooler and avoid overheating. And what I actually did a couple of moments ago was, maybe you noticed, maybe you didn't, but I switched to 1080p. So the whole beginning of this video I was shooting 4K, and this is 1080p. And from what I know about the Sony a7S III FX3 sensor, which this ZV-E1 has, is that the 1080p is actually very nice, very sharp, very crispy for that 1080. And I would not be surprised if most of you, when I switched over to 1080p, you couldn't tell. It's because it's that damn good. So the other way to mitigate any overheating issues on your Sony ZV-E1 is just simply shooting in 1080p if you know you're gonna have to do something for a very long time. And to be quite honest, the quality of the 1080p on the Sony a7S, the Sony ZV-E1, is top notch. And hopefully I just proved it to you just now. But with that said, this is not a full review of this camera. I don't know if I'll do a full review of this camera because I don't go through all those little nitty-gritty specs, test out all the AI crap, because I'm not going to do that. I'm just using this camera as I actually will do in real life, which is just use it for vlogging like this and manually control everything because I know what I'm doing. And this camera was clearly designed for some D-bag beginner vloggers who don't know anything about camera settings, because surprisingly, when I turned it on, everything was on like intelligent auto. Even face blur was on. So Sony had Canon color science mode on default in this camera out of the box. Of course, I turned it off because I want you to see truly how disgusting I look up close. But this camera was designed and targeted for beginner vloggers who probably shouldn't even buy this camera and should just vlog on a GoPro, because it only takes 10 minutes watching some YouTube D-bag teach you about manual controls on your camera and you'd be good to go. instead of spending $2,200 on a Sony ZV-E1 for it to help you do stuff. But clearly, if you can't put the effort into learning how to use a camera properly, that means you're just a lazy bum, and your vlogs or your YouTube channel that you want to shoot with your ZV-E1 is going to be trash anyway. So, if you're going to buy the ZV-E1, let me know in the comments below and why you're going to do it. And I kind of already explained to you why I bought it. It's because it is super lightweight. It is just a small, lightweight camera with Sony a7S III FX3 power that I could take anywhere, anytime, and it doesn't weigh that much, and it's tiny. Like something else that I take everywhere every time with me. Underneath, below the belt, in my pants. And all my Asian friends know what I'm talking about. And don't kid yourself. You definitely know what I'm talking about. With that said, quality, not quantity. Till next time, lighten up. Hey man, you got the new Sony ZV-E1 camera to review? No, I didn't get one for review, but it's a nice camera. I think I'm gonna buy one. Oh my god, that because your YouTube channel is trash? What do you mean by that? If you want to be the best, if you want to be professional YouTuber, you need to buy the ZV-E1, make review video, what lens to buy video, how to color grade video, and then you need to sell ZV-E1 lot and call it the Ad Lot Pack. Not gonna lie, I'm not trying to make content like everyone else. And LUTs, they take a long time to develop properly. Let me show you. Rack 709 Ad Lot, Dirty Ad Lot, Canon Color Shine Ad Lot, All Night Ad Lot, Transition Ad Lot. Bro, are you serious right now? With discount only $29.99.